Welcome to Introduction to Teleportation and Mindbending. Now, this is going to be a really interesting learning opportunity for you and myself included. My name is Rich Hebron, and I'm going to be sharing some experiences and some wisdom with you to help you become like a high-level human being and to transform your life in a very short amount of time. What this is all about. Now, I'm recording this in my Chicago apartment, and I have an 8-foot whiteboard. It might be a little dirty. It gets used quite a bit. So hopefully you can see everything I'll like draw and make notes of. But this is just like a simple video to kind of introduce you to the topic, myself, and some of these ideas. We'll be doing right now I have about 10 planned, and about a variety of things to achieve this. And what the main idea is of teleportation, right? This is exciting stuff. This is incredible. And it's also very serious, okay? It's really cool. All right, so here we have this bell curve of fear. Now, this bell curve, what we want to do is get from here, it's my little stick man, to here, in an instant. Teleportation. Teleporting from here to here. Now, fear is quite a foe, isn't it? You have to have a lot of courage to face it. And a lot of times people spend entire lifetimes trying to overcome it. It's very difficult. But the reason why we're talking about all these things is because we want to create and strengthen both our digital and physical communities in the 21st century. We have an opportunity to create something so hopeful and beautiful and brilliant, but we need all of us working individually at our highest level to give ourselves to our community. Because we're all unique people. We all offer a unique perspective and skill set, and we need everybody operating at a really individually great level so we can all come together and help our communities. We need to create empowered communities for this century. Now, I experienced this in 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Now, when I say 3.5, we're talking about instantaneously, just like this, right? But during that time, you're preparing every single day for that moment, that single moment, right? And what's fascinating about all of this is that a new social class is going to emerge this century. And the world's first trillionaires are going to come from this social class. Now, what's so interesting about it, too, is that within here, the priority or the value is not money. What it is time and freedom. But with first prioritizing time and freedom, things like this will happen, okay? No time in human history has this been possible. And what we're combining here is human potential with technology. And this is the first time, again, in human history that this is possible. And it's really exciting, the things that we can do together. But again, we have to take on this, right? and it happens every single day. Now, let me share with you a few things you should know about me as we're talking about these concepts, right? There's probably like 3 things that you should, kind of know about me. One is I'm from the country. I was born in rural Wisconsin and was raised on a family farm. And, just like us country folk, we just like operate differently. We have a different perspective. And while I live in Chicago and I love the city, I equally love, my rural roots and my country background. And both have valuable things to offer that I've learned and applied in my life. So that's something you should probably be aware of. 2, so after I graduated college, I voluntarily lived homeless in Chicago for over 4 months to better understand this subject and who it affects. Because you see it all the time, and you gotta wonder, like, how does that feel? What is it like? I was so curious about it that I wanted to explore it myself. And so the first month I slept in parks and bushes. I ate at soup kitchens. When it was forecasted to rain, I would sneak into buildings. Although technically I never snuck in. I just happened to be in the buildings when they closed. But after that, I joined a shelter program, and I slept at an overnight shelter almost every night for 2 months on the west side of Chicago in East Garfield Park. And homeless shelters, they vary in services and condition and all of that. This was kind of your bare minimum homeless shelter. This is where, like, if you are just getting out of prison and you have nowhere else to go, this is the spot. This is like last resort type of thing. And what would happen, they had beds for like 75 people. It's called Rawls. And you'd get there and you'd wait on a stairwell, and there'd be a table there with a volunteer and a parole officer. And there'd be like a Excel sheet, and you would write your name next to this number. And then you got like a small piece of cardboard with that number on it. And that was your shower ticket. Showers were mandatory there. And then before that, you'd be patted down for contraband. Your bag would be checked for contraband. We'd have a simple meal at night, rice and beans or like mushy spaghetti, something like that. Something simple and easy. The showers, there were 3 stalls, and you had 5 minutes to take a shower, but really it's like every 30 seconds you're getting yelled at to get out. And there's like a grimy slime to the shower curtains. Everything was all kind of moldy, and you just got like a bar of soap like this to wash your body, and then a washcloth to dry your entire body with. And then there were 3 stalls in the bathroom. 2 had doors missing, and then the middle one was held up by duct tape, and there's gang graffiti all over. It smelled horrible when you'd have to, hold your nose when you went inside. And then tables and chairs were put away. It was kind of in this small gym, and then tables and chairs were put underneath the tables were underneath a stage, and then the floor was swept and mopped, and then volunteers would take these mattresses from this storage room and just place them right next to each other, about a foot apart. And the way you signed in, that's what your bed number was. And we figured out that beds 1 through 20 always had the bed bugs because they were against a certain wall. So we'd always kind of loiter outside and let people in before us, so that we wouldn't get those beds. And then it's lights out, and then you wake up the next morning and you kind of do it all over again. It's a brief summary of, I can talk about homelessness for a very long time. That's not what these videos are about, but it has certainly shaped my perspective and approach to the world. All I wanted to do was just learn from other people and learn from the experience. And these are people who are often dismissed right away, right? but every single person, again, has something valuable to share with others. And we can learn lessons about life from everybody. And there's so many like fascinating, tremendous individuals that I met during this time. And this has been a big influence on me and how I kind of take on the world in a way. The third thing, okay, is and this is how, this is what catalyzed like all of this. Is back in 2018 in the spring, I was working on the family farm on this tractor that I've rode for years and years and years. And I'm in a field working up the land, and I hear this loud pop. So I see a tree line. I know there's a tree line up ahead. So I shift to neutral, and by the time I look up, there are flames already by the cab. And my stomach drops. And it's that moment of life where it's just like fight or flight. And all I could think was jump. So I open the cab door. There's flames already there. I know I'm going to get burned. I just jump. And I like end up on the ground. And, like 15 seconds after, you see the glass of the cab just like melting in this like turquoise hue. And since that day, I've thought a lot about life and death, a lot about death, and understanding that we're biological creatures and we all have expiration dates. But at the same time, too, we can live our best life and we can strive to be the best version of ourselves during that life so that we can give to the people around us, our communities, and for people and generations that will follow us. So it's like understanding what you have to share with the world and really practice and work on that all the time. We don't have much time. But after that experience, I think all of us in life, we're trying to find our purpose, or we want to live a better life, right? Well, how do you do that? Because there have been times leading up to this, of course, where it's like, tomorrow, I'm gonna really get after it. And then for like 2 or 3 days, you're just like incredible. But then you burn out, right? Very quickly. Or maybe like a week or even a month, right? But like, how do you create something in your life that's like sustainable? And I thought after this event, if I take small steps every single day, I think they'll add up. And a lot of times when you're in this kind of mindset, you felt complacent in life before, you want something better. How? So people will search the depths of the internet, myself included. How do I do this? How do I live the life that I want to live, right? I had no idea. So I started reading books. Maybe answers will be in books. So during this time, I never really was a reader until this point, and coincidentally, I signed up for a membership at the Art Institute of Chicago like a week before this accident happened. And then when I went to the Art Institute, the museum, it was like everything it was like, oh, art isn't, I'm from the country, so we think like art is pretentious and bougie, things like that. But actually what art is just ideas. And whatever art it's in or form, like it's just expressing something about life. And really it's a museum of the history of ideas that have come before us. And then so I was reading. So then I'm reading at a pace. I have like stacks of library books around me, and they allow you to check up to like 50 books at the Chicago Public Library. But I'm like, I'm not getting through these quick enough. So then I start reading one book a week. So I'm just reading and reading and reading, not what like people are telling me to read, or not like, oh, what are the top 15 books you should read in your life? Like, none of that. I was reading what I was curious about, and it just has led me kind of on this journey. But aside from those two things, it's like a lot of other things that have influenced me. But there was a book I thought of that I had read in 2012. It's called The Sacred Hoops by Phil Jackson. He's the greatest coach in basketball history, arguably of any sport. And he did a lot of his work here in Chicago, where I am, with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, as you're probably aware. And I read the book again, and it really struck me. And this is like fall of 2012. 2018. And I was like, if I implement Phil's philosophy into my own life, or take ideas from Phil and do it in my own life, I bet I'll see results. You know, if Michael and Kobe could do this, like, who am I not to try it, right? So since then, I've been applying Phil's philosophy in life. And what this kind of comes down to, so Phil, he was influenced by Christianity, Zen Buddhism, and Lakota Sioux Native American spiritual beliefs. And so his idea for, the Bulls and basketball in general is egoless basketball. And this is, again, Phil Jackson. So his idea was, if we work as one mind, 5 minds becoming one, we will beat 5 players acting individually in their own interests on the court. So what he tried to do is like harness the idea of awareness through mindfulness and meditation. And everything is about like, so this is like pretty innovative stuff at the time in the early 90s. And what you want to do, so on the court, they wouldn't run plays. They would just read the defenses and then act accordingly. And you would use your opponent's aggression against them and take advantage of that. And it's like this dance. And I could talk all day about Phil, but the concept is like going on a journey and a goal of winning a championship. And that's the end goal, this quest that we're going on. And it's about every single one of us playing a role in that. Everybody has certain skills and has certain things they're good at, and they're wired a certain way, and they all add something. And it's about together coming and understanding that we're all trying to get here collectively, and we all have roles to play. Some roles are bigger than others, say like Michael Jordan, right? But each one is important for us to get to our ultimate goal. And you can see how this can work in society too. A lot of Phil's ideas can be scaled to anything, right? And so in the world, we need each of us to be striving to be our best and working to be our best, because we're all playing a role, and every role is important for us to be at like a high functioning, positive, beautiful society, right? So taking these ideas from Phil and applying them to my own life, about 9 months in, right? So it's like every day working on this stuff and implementing a lot of other things too, like so many different inspirations and like readings and reading philosophy. My favorite Greek philosopher is Giannis of Sepolia. Giannis of Sepolia. And what he does and his approach to life is something that inspires me and I aspire for. It's like there's so many people that have come before us or are even with us today that we can learn from, and that like thirst for knowledge and learning and curiosity so that we can add it to our own lives is something that I've really learned to take on during this time. But let's say like 9 months later, July 26th, 2019. This is the best day of my life in 10 years. So what happened, it was just a regular Tuesday. And I was in Wicker Park in Chicago at a coffee shop working on my third book called Primary Ponderings. And I walk outside. So I was done working. I walk outside on the street. And it was like a beautiful, like sunny day. And just everything was beautiful around me. The cracks in the sidewalk, the graffiti on the street signs, the architecture, the people, the cars, like everything was just beautiful. And it was like this moment. And so I realized something was happening. I walked to a record store and I bought whatever like vinyl stuck out to me. And it was The Portrait of Ray by Ray Charles. So I bought this vinyl. I go back home, I play it right away, and I sit on my couch, and I just close my eyes, and I just like be in the moment. And a lot of Phil is about being present, be in the moment. It's about like clearing the mind so that you can absorb the information of what you're seeing, you know? It's not about like not thinking. It's about like just being empty and observing what comes to you, right? But so after that record, then I met up with a friend. We got some old fashions at this like vintage cocktail bar, and then we went to his new spot in West Loop, and we had some old fashions again, and we were on his rooftop, staring at the Chicago skyline. And it's a beautiful sight if you haven't seen it. The Chicago skyline is magnificent. But I remember, you know, when I had first moved to Chicago when I was 18, like that's what you envision. It's like, and in the future, I want to be in the city, like staring at this and be like, you know, cheering success and celebrating and with company. And it was like in that moment, I was living my dream. But what this was the first time I got access to this other dimension. Where you see how everything is interconnected and everything is beautiful in its own way. And we're all like connected in a way. So understanding that, and on a daily basis, what I've been doing the last 3.5 years is trying to be the best version of myself every single day. Now, that requires a lot of different things. What we're going to go through in this, we're going to talk a lot about certain things. Some of the videos we're going to talk about are time, curiosity, generosity, awareness, knowing your skill set and personality, information processing, what do we got here? Objectivity, language, consumption discipline, emptiness. But every day it's like practicing these things and say like patience, right? Or, you know, you want to get to a level where you're a human being every single day, right? You don't like take a day off from being a human being, right? So why would you take a day off practicing these things, right? So when you're in the grocery store line, you know, your first thought is, oh, I'll get my phone out or something like that. But understanding this is a moment. This is an opportunity to practice patience, or generosity, just like giving yourself and your knowledge and your skills to other people. Be of service to other people, understanding your skills and your personality, how you're wired. Like, I'm different than you. Like, all of this you can achieve, but you have to do it in your own way. This is not like a do these steps and then you'll be at your destination. No, that's like not thinking, right? What the intention is with all of this is that you'll be able to increase your cognitive ability to be like mentally agile in any situation. In the 21st century, technology is evolving at such a rapid rate, humans can't keep up. So instead of fearing it and dismissing it and things like that, what you want to do as a human being is be adaptable, be able to change and shift and see things coming. When you reach this, and along the way, and I suppose going back to this dimension, right? Like, once you experience this for the first time, you'll want to keep experiencing it. You'll want to like live in it. And some days I don't get access to it. And it's because I'm not doing these things. I'm thinking too much about myself, or I'm letting my ego lead my actions and motives. And that's not what we're talking about here. This is egoless education. This type of education will, again, catapult you in a short amount of time to your dreams. But again, you have to practice these things. I'll introduce these concepts, and it's really fun. The alternative, again, is suffering. It's like knowing you want something more from your life, and you know you have the potential to do it, but you just don't know how to do it or why. Like, imagine feeling that the rest of your life. You don't want to do that. So sure, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but the rewards, the payoff is so incredible. Again, we're talking about this type. And so experiencing this, it sounds very abstract, right? So what I started doing, especially when this happened, this was like in December. I have a podcast called Rich Conversations, and I just love learning and exploring the world, talking to people all over the planet about what they know, their experiences, and things like that. So the podcast started skewing a lot towards science. I've had marine biologists and paleontologists and engineers and material engineers, software engineers, like physicists. So what this has led me to explore more is physics. How did this happen, right? It sounds very abstract. How do I better understand it, right? Well, I suppose we don't want to erase that. So after this happened, I had so many questions. Like it was almost like this surreal, for like 2 months, this surrealness of life is now different. I am now different. What is my life now? How did this happen, right? So I started exploring physics and learning, studying, and I really went into quantum theory. So I read a book on quantum theory, but talking to physicists, and my basic understanding of it is that everything in the universe is made up of atoms. And why things are the way they are is about how they're assembled. So we're assembled as human beings. So if everything is made up of atoms, what I've thought about is that every day for 3.5 years, I've arranged the atoms in my body to be exactly what I wanted them to be. And now I am that. So it's about the atoms. And with quantum theory, there are infinite possibilities. This whole concept, it's abstract and it's nonlinear. It's very nonlinear. The 21st century, you're going to have to think nonlinear if you want to reach your highest potential and help your own communities. It's going to be very important to kind of detach from linear way of thinking and think more abstractly, more quantum, in a quantum kind of way. But just to wrap this up, I'm really excited to see what you'll do with this knowledge and information. You're going to have to be patient with yourself because it's a long process, but if you do put in the work, it's going to pay off, and it's going to pay off again in like infinity amount of ways. And I'm excited to see what you do and how you're able to contribute to your communities. We can really create something special.